Hey everybody, it's Jim from Slipknot, and we're doing a masterclass today for Guitar Part magazine. And that's who I am, and that's the magazine, and there you are. Okay, so anyways, I guess we're gonna go down the set list, and we're gonna start with the latest album. In this particular set list, we're playing Dead Memories, and I just happen to be holding a B guitar, so we'll start with the intro riff for Dead Memories, and that's basically going to start up on the 5th fret. I'm in a drop B tuning, and it goes something like this. And that's essentially the first opening part of Dead Memories. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty slow. Anyways, basically what it is in the drop tuning, you're going to have a 5th chord here on this fret. So you're going to have, up to the 8th fret on this string. And that's essentially the intro for Dead Memories. Solo time! The way I approach soloing is, I don't know, a little bit strange. I'm not really a learned guitar player. I don't really know much about theory. I learned a few scales up and down the fretboard, and I'm just now starting to kind of figure out how to move those scales around to put them in the right key and things like that. So when I play solos in the studio, I basically do them off the top of my head, and then I go back and I relearn them later. And I never really play them the same way twice. So you'll get kind of the gist of what I'm doing in the solo, and some extra stuff. So anyways, when the solo kicks in, it's something like this. And that's basically the solo for Dead Memories. Basically, a slower version would be. I don't know how close that was to the first time I played it, but essentially it's out of these shapes. I'll give you the shapes, and then maybe that way it'll be a little bit easier to figure out. So basically the whole solo is kind of around that area, and I don't know if I'm in Gideon or Mixolydian or whatever mode it is, That song's a little bit tricky because live it goes into that clean breakdown. So instead of letting that note ring out, I'm going directly into... Before I forget, Mick actually starts this song, but for the sake of Mick not being here right now, I'll start it just to show you how the opening riff goes. Drop B tuning once again, and something like this. And slow, that would be something a little like this. That's all down picking. So it would be just, you know, straight down, and then you've got a little, not really a gallop in it, but there's open notes. There's open notes in between each pick, so it's like... You know, so that gives it that... And that's the gist of that song. There's a little breakdown in the middle that's, I suppose you could call it a guitar solo, but it's kind of more of a melodic breakdown, and that's just kind of running along the fourth B string with the open string underneath it, a little melodic run like... And that's how it's kind of played in the studio, but live I do something a little bit different. Live I kind of go... And that's where Mick starts, and then I come in halfway through that with... And then there's the verse riff, which is... And basically that's, the notes are up. I guess we're going to talk about Psychosocial. We're going to do the intro, and if I can remember the solo for it. Basically, this is in an A tuning, so it would be a standard B tuning with the low string dropped to A. I think that's probably about as good as it's going to get. So yeah, slower it would be. I don't know how you slow a grind down, but anyways, that's essentially the beginning of that. And woo, the solo. All right. Something like that. Does that sound close? Anyways. You know, that's close to what the solo would be, you know. But it's, again, you know, it's kind of out of the same shapes from the Dead Memory shapes, you know. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Before I go on stage, I usually stretch, and I never touch a guitar until right when we're on stage. I used to, you know, like when I put the guitar on, and literally right before we walk out on stage, I'll just kind of run, you know, a few like, just to kind of warm up a little bit, you know, like, you know, things like that, or I'll run some chromatic. You know, just to kind of loosen my fingers up a little bit, and then I'll get some, you know, some. Just to kind of get the wrist loose a little bit. I mean, literally, I do that like seconds before we're walking out on stage, you know. So what is it, Sulfur, you know, and that was kind of. You know, I mean, that started as just like I wrote a blast beat on a drum machine, you know, and I just kind of came up with that riff to go along with it, and then that turned into a song, you know, so with a little. Kind of thing. I think in some ways I've purposely kind of stayed a little bit ignorant of what and why it is I play what I play, you know, which makes it difficult to do, you know, things like this, but at the same time, you know, I really don't want to sacrifice, you know, how I write, or things that I might possibly come up with, or, you know, or just an idea, you know, a creative process. And I think maybe that's pretty important for a guitar player when you're thinking in terms of, you know, being an artist and writing music and not sounding like another guitar player, you know. Yeah.